Hey, what's happening, everybody? My name is Haydn with A Designer Who Codes. In today's tutorial, I want to talk about building navigations in Gatsby. I'm going to build 3 different navigations using both the nav bars in React Bootstrap and using the nav component in React Bootstrap as well. We're going to look at our design. We're going to take the Gatsby starter default and build 3 designs. One with a left-hand navigation, one with a right-hand navigation, and one with navigation in the center. And with that, let's get started. All right, once again, my name is Haydn Adams with A Designer Who Codes, and this channel is all about helping you design more and to troubleshoot less. If that's what you're looking for online, then hit that subscribe button, hit that little notification bell so you never miss a video. All right, just 2 bits of housekeeping. One, I did create my own template based upon the Gatsby starter default library, which you're looking at right here. If you want to use my template, you're welcome to use it by just heading down to the description below, where I'm going to provide a link to a GitHub repo. Also, I previously installed React Bootstrap. I'll also put a link down below if you want to see how to do just that. And I guess a third thing is I also set up in my source folder a blank CSS file. I mean by blank, I literally mean, where'd it go? Here it is, a blank CSS file. So that's the 3 things I did differently anyways, of the Gatsby starter default template. So with that, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start by going into the header section of the template. So under components, under header, is where you're gonna find where all the magic's gonna happen. I'm gonna put all of my designs inside the header tags at the top. So what I have to do is, I'm gonna first start by turning off this link. And I have to bring my logo in first because I wanna start using the design from left to right. Logo comes first and navigation text comes second. Now I've got a logo. So if I bring it in my images folder, my other screen, it looks absolutely amazing. It's the Acme Bread Company. It looks just like that. So let's first bring the logo in, and then we'll bring the type in second. So back into my header.js file, I have to import the logo. I'm going to say import logo from ... go out of the same folder components and back into my images folder, and acmebreadco.svg, drop it in and save that file. And so far, nothing's happening in here, which is fine. Now what I want to do is I want to import a few pieces from React Bootstrap. I'm going to say import. I'm going to bring in the container, the nav bar, and the nav from what should happen if you have it installed properly. It'll come up and say React Bootstrap. Hit the return key in VS Code and you are all set to begin. The container is crucial because that's going to provide the breakpoints for my navigation from large, medium, small, extra small, and back to the extra large size. So what I'll do is I'm going to add container at the top and just do a quick test to make sure it's working. What I should see is the word test at the very top. And if I move my scroll bar back, or my screen back and forth, it has the relative breakpoints. Perfect. Now we can go and design our navigation. I'm going to start by saying navbar expand LG. What that means is below the large size, add the mobile menu. So if you have a large navigation, which I know it says large here, but if I had even larger navigation, I might want to say XL, it'll have relative breakpoints at which my navigation will change from the words on the screen to the mobile breakpoint. That's really important. I can always come back and change it if I want to down the road. And I'm going to say collapse on select equals true. And from here, what I'm going to do is close it up, and everything's going to sit inside my container and my nav bar. The nav bar is the containment area to which to say my navigation is going to go. I'm going to then start up designing my logo by saying link to, which is a code for Gatsby, not for React Bootstrap. Just so you're aware that by default, it is set up, but if you are missing it, you have to type in import link from Gatsby. So link to / is going to be my default index page. And I'll close up the link. From there, I'm going to add just a basic good old-fashioned image tag because I'm not having to worry about bringing anything in with Gatsby image. So I'll say img lowercase source equals logo. And then the reason why I commented out this top part is I just want to grab the site title and say alt equals, oops, not like that, alt equals salt title. And I'm going to set a width of 200 and self-close it up in the image tag. And now I get rid of this comment that I added below or added above as I don't need it. Let me save. Check it out. Acme Bread Co. looking pretty good and sharp. It's looking great. So I have the logo area. So let's add the navigation to the left. So down below of link, I'm going to add navbar .toggle. And this is going to allow me to toggle it from both responsive to non-responsive. I'm going to say aria controls equals navbar responsive. Now note that I did capitalize my version at capital R. We're going to repeat this same name on the next line below. And self-close this up. There we go. And then I'll say navbar .collapse ID equals, and I usually copy and paste just because I don't want to make a mistake, navbar responsive. From here, I'm going to add the nav area down below to specify what I want inside my navigation. So I'm going to say nav open and close. So just so we go through it all, we have navbar link for the logo, navbar toggle, navbar collapse, and now this is where our navigation is going to go inside of our nav. So for Gatsby, I'm going to utilize the UL, LI, and the link. And because I'm using the link property, which is above here with Gatsby, I can't use the nav link, which is supplied in React Bootstrap. The good thing is that we can use the tools of vanilla or get Bootstrap to apply to the link tags in here. What I mean by that is I'm going to type li, oops, not li. Let's start with the ul. Always comes first before the li. So the li is going to be class name equals navbar dash nav. And in the li, that case, that just can stay li at its own. I'm going to the return key just for display purposes. And I'm going to add link to, and we'll say page 2. The class name will then be nav link. And I also want to add an active class name. So I'm going to say active class name as well to come with the link. And this is going to match up to React Bootstrap by saying active. So we'll say active in this case. And we'll call this page 2. Let's give it a try and see what happens. Let's save it. Check it out. Page 2. Page 2 shows up. Let's go back to Acme Bread Company for page number 1. And if I move my browser, what's going to happen is on that medium size, you're going to see that it goes responsive and drops to the hamburger menu. Now, what does happen, this is where you can have it or not have it this way. I like my navigation in the middle of the page when it comes to responsive. So I'm going to add one more component to this element. Inside the nav, I'm going to say class name equals text center. This will only really apply when it comes to the mobile environment. So if I save this, notice now how that text goes right to the middle of the page. And again, it still works, page 2. And note that the active class darkens page 2. Acme Bread Company starting back to the home page. So this is how you can do the left aligned navigation. Let's move on to the right. So when it comes to moving things around, we are using flex within this whole design. Flex in the row says put the left hand being the logo, and on the right have the navigation. I'll move this back this way. But there's not really any code that says go to the right. All the code really says is come from the left. So we have to write a little bit of code to specify push the design over from the left. And that powerful tool can be utilized inside the nav. So after text center, what I want to say is ML ML auto. Let me show you what it is, and then I'll show you where I got that. I'm going to save, and that's all it takes. Literally just one line of code. The reason or how we got to that is if we go back, I'm going to head over to Chrome, and I will search for Get Bootstrap. It should come up in the spacing area. There it is. So spacing is built in. So as you install React Bootstrap, you also get Bootstrap and all the vanilla features as well. So spacing works by specifying if you want margin or padding and which direction you want to go in. And you want an auto margin, meaning push as far as possible. So what I did is I set M for margin, L for left, so margin left, auto. And when I typed in margin auto, it meant that it pushed the navigation from the left over to the right. Now the great part about this is that again, it'll hold the text center right in the middle, but it'll go right over here as you go out of the responsive design. And if I were to add one more link, let's just do page 3. Oops, I forgot a /2 in Gatsby. There is no page 3, so this is going to break. But if I were to say page 3, it still goes to the right. The margin is just from this area to this area. And this is how you can create a right side navigation using React Bootstrap. Now let's move on to the third and move it into the center of the page. So the centering takes a little change. So what I'm going to do in this example is I'm going to take out everything below the link when it comes to the design. So all I'm left with, if I save, is Acme Bread Company. When I design pieces on the web, I think about making sure that the first thing works and the second part will then follow. So if I think about it, what I really want is the navigation. I want the logo on the top, and then I want the navigation below. So what I first have to do is I have to move the logo over to the middle of the page. Now, this can achieve in CSS. Because we're using Flex, by default, it's thinking it's got two pieces of components sitting on the design, and my design sits on the left-hand side. I want to take away Flex and then bring it back when it comes to the responsive design. So this is not going to be done yet in the header, but in the CSS file that I have set up. So I'm going to head back to my CSS file, which is empty. Literally, it looks like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the Acme Bread Company to go away from Flex and then bring it back. So the nav bar is where everything begins. I'll say nav bar, so it is a class name. And in here, I'll say display and not inline. Thank you for self-fulfilling that in. Display is going to be inherit. What inherit does is it goes back beyond its parent to whatever it was before. Since Flex was set up, the inherit basically says take away Flex. And then what I'm going to say is text align center. So I want it in the middle of the page. Let's save this. And what's going to happen is now Acme Bread Company move to the middle of the screen. So just so you see, if we go to the inspect area, because we took it out of Flex, there's all this room inside of the nav bar. And so by saying text align center, notice also below the nav bar display Flex is gone for display inherit. Makes it a lot easier, and now I can put the logo in the middle of the screen. Pretty cool. However, what I don't want is I don't want Acme Bread Company in the middle of the screen. I want it over to the left. Let me go back to my iPhone size. There we go. I want Acme Bread Company over to the left and the navigation to the right. So what happens is I want that to go away on the mobile site. Cue the media query. So let's type in at media, and we'll say max width 767. And I'll show you in a second where I got that number from. Curly brackets, and if we just copy and paste the nav bar and drop it in, I'm going to change, I can take out text align center. That doesn't need to be there because it's really going to be moot in a second. And display goes back to flex. And now what's going to happen is that logo is going to sit on the left-hand side of the screen. So no matter which one I'm using, it's going to sit on the left versus back to the middle. So where did I get this, or where did I get the 767 pixel number? Well, I closed my screen that had it. But let's head over to Get Bootstrap. I spelled it wrong before, and it's ever since given me troubles. In the vanilla version, or getbootstrap.com, if we look at the layout in the overview, and we are using a container, the medium size says 768 pixels. So what I'm saying is when it goes below the large, goes below the medium at 767 pixels, thereby break with the inherent and go back to flex. Keep in mind that you might be leveraging the large, and so you have to say 991 or in theory 992. It doesn't matter quite much in that case. But I drop it below 1 pixel because the break point is at 768. Then it hits 100%. And we're all back to the races. So just so you know where I got that from was the numerical value on Get Bootstrap, which controls React Bootstrap as well. Cool. We have our logo. So now let's go back into our header and add the code to make the navigation be in the middle. The navigation is sitting right here, and my logo is sitting right here, looking great. So below that, I'm going to say nav, if I can type correctly, navbar.toggle, and say aria controls. Usually it fills in. What am I doing wrong? I don't know. Aria controls, let's type it in properly, and say navbar responsive. Ooh, let's not mess that up. That could really happen. And self-close that tag. I'll then say navbar dot collapse ID and also say navbar responsive. Cool. The one thing I will also do though is inside the navbar collapse, I'm going to say class name equals justify content center because we want our text to be in the center of the screen. There we go. It opened and closed it. Perfect. Now I'll add the nav right here. And then we'll add the UL and bring back our class names and say navbar, nav, and also justify content center. I know I'm repeating myself twice, but I'll show you why in a second. So let's open and close the UL, and we'll add the LI, or not the lil. That's a good one. And for display purposes, I am going to hit the return key so you can see where the nested tags show up on the screen. I'll say link to page 2/ and add class name nav dash link and active class name and say active and page 2. Now what we should see, assuming I got this right, there we go. Page 2 sits in the middle of the screen. Just so you are aware, if you miss one of these two, it's both because I have inspect it. There it goes. Notice how it went back to the flex and my responsive menu is on the right-hand side and page 2 is in the middle. If I take out this top class name of Justify Content Center, what'll happen is it's not going to be centered when it comes to the non-responsive or the non-mobile design, but it is centered in this case right here. And notice it looks a little funky only because we're not quite on the 767 number. There we go. Hits that and we're good. So as you move your browser, you might have a little funkiness for a quick second, but no, users will not see that. So if I bring it back, this justify content center shows up on the non-mobile design, and this justify shows up in the mobile. So if I save that, now the non-mobile shows up. However, if I bring it this way, oh, it should. I guess it didn't. Actually, I think my hot reload didn't, well, reload. Let me just type a quick test here. I'm going to write the word test because when it fails, double check to make sure it's working. And what should happen is if I go back into my responsive design and inspect, yep, there it is over on the left-hand side. So I do need to have justify content center twice. Let me undo. And now it brings it back to the center here and the center here. If you want more videos helping you design more and troubleshoot less, check out the videos I have here and don't forget to subscribe. As always, I'm Haydn Adams with A Designer Who Codes. Thanks so much for watching and have a fantastic day.